I want to tell you something that took me an embarrassingly long time to figure out. And when I did figure it out, everything changed. The money, the business, the people around me, all of it. You are not lazy, you are just alone. And look, I don't mean alone like you've got no friends, right? I mean alone in the sense that there is nobody in your immediate environment who is making what you want to achieve feel real, feel possible, or feel at all even urgent. And when nothing feels urgent, you don't move. It's as simple as that. I figured this out properly back in Mexico City. And I wanted to tell you that story because it's been the best example that I got of what I'm about to talk to you about today. But just before I do, there's a bit of context I need to give you because without it, the story just doesn't land properly at all. Stay with me. Hi, if you don't know who I am, I'm Callum, I'm 23. I run BTB, Maison Femme, which are a couple private members, founder networks, travel clubs, whatever you want to call them, with over 200 plus members across multiple cities worldwide. And one of them is for gents and one of them is for the ladies, the female founders. Look, here's what I know about myself. I am competitive to a genuinely embarrassing degree. And I mean that, right? When I was younger, one of my mates, he beat me at pool. So I went home and I watched YouTube tutorials on how to get better at pool. Right? Not because I particularly loved fucking pool, but because he beat me and I just couldn't stand it. There was a day a mate of mine overtook me on Clash Royale. He shot up to like 2,500 trophies, from there to like 3,200 like a day. And I was sitting somewhere around like 2K trophies, right? That evening I went home, I sat down, I played for 7.5 fucking hours straight on a school night. I spent actual real money on it, probably my only pounds I had in my bank at that point. And I got myself into the legend tier by like 2 a.m. Did that help my life in any way whatsoever? Absolutely fucking not. It's Clash Royale, right? But what it did tell me was something important about how I'm wired. You put me in a room with someone doing better than me, and I will die to catch them. Leave me on my own with no one to chase, I'll just coast. Not because I'm lazy, it's just I've got no one to compete with. I'm smart, I like the easy route. And here's the thing, I've come to believe about most people, most founders, most entrepreneurs who feel stuck or stagnant or like they're not moving fast enough. It's not a discipline problem. You're here. You don't have a discipline problem. It's not a mindset issue either. It's an environment problem. But here's what most people get wrong about that, all right? Because when people talk about upgrading your environment and your circle, they go straight to cutting people off. That conversation that people have. And I think that is pretty much completely nonsense. Let me explain what I mean, okay? The whole cut off anyone who isn't on your level thing that gets thrown around constantly on social media, I disagree with basically all of it. All right. Your old friends, they made you who you are. They keep you grounded. Some of them are there to make you laugh. Some of them are there to make you tell stories. Some of them to listen to your stories, whatever the fuck it is. Not every friendship has to be a transactional, entrepreneurial, or financially motivated weird thing. Stop making it like that. It's very shallow of you to do that. I think people who cut everyone off below them, they surround themselves with exclusively high achievers. They often become very hollow and quite shallow. Now look, if someone's genuinely actively dragging you backwards, then yeah, of course, turn up the heat slowly, reply less, let it fade off. That's fine. But most of the time, you don't need to cut anyone off, right? You just need to see that certain people a little bit less, while you spend a bit more time in different rooms with different people. That's it. That's the whole thing. You aren't replacing your friends. You're kind of adding to them, upgrading the average without deleting the history. If you know what I mean, all right? So how do you find those rooms? How do you find the people who are actually going to make you feel and what you want feel real? Well, I'll tell you. That's the point of the video. But first, I want to talk to you about something more foundational, because this is the thing that actually determines whether any of this works in the first place. Look, before you can find the right room, you need to know where you're trying to end up, because the room you need at 5k a month is not the room you need at 50. And if you're in the wrong room for your stage, it'll either hold you back or it'll break you before you're ready. I call this the gap. Let's put that up here. Okay. Where you are now and where do you want to be? Be specific. Not, I want to be successful. What does your life actually look like in 1 year, 5 years, 10 years? What does that version of you spend time with every day? Who do they spend time with? What do they spend time doing? Because once you know who that person is, you can start to reverse engineer the room. And there's a geography to this that no one really talks about openly. So let me break it down, because I think it's actually quite a useful principle that you can take away from this and just go and use straight away. Different cities have different financial ecosystems, okay? And the entrepreneurs you meet at each of them are broadly at different stages, okay? So for example, Bali is a great one. Some of you will have been there, some of you might not. Bali and Southeast Asia on the whole, you're going to find a lot of people doing from 0 to like 20, 30K a month. Brilliant energy, lots of people building for the first time, great community feel. I love the places. If you are just breaking into the online space, making your first few grand a month, go to Bali. Seriously, just go. You'll meet people doing slightly better than you. You'll learn from them. You'll stay competitive. You'll stay hungry. It's the right room for that stage. No question. Cape Town, different bracket. You want to be doing 20K a month plus before you go there, realistically, all right? On the kind of lifestyle costs in the high season, the villas, they're very expensive. Okay, the lifestyle costs are much more. So people there on track accordingly. It forces you to earn more. Lots of people are doing like 80 to 150K a month. Great energy, different league. And then you've got Dubai. That's the next step up. And then London is obviously a step above, right? That's kind of like roughly the ladder. Now, look, you don't need to move personally, but I do think you should live in different places for different seasons of your life. Go to where the people are who are like 1 or 2 rungs above where you are now. Not 10 rungs, 20, 1 or 2. If the gap's too big, you won't relate to them. They won't relate to you. They won't want to talk to you, yada, yada. But if it's 1 or 2 rungs ahead, you can keep up. You can contribute. They pull you forward just by being around them. They want to be around you. You're not that far away from them. Okay. And when you get to wherever you're going, you don't need some elaborate strategy to meet people either. Just run clubs, boxing gyms, paddle court, big training facilities like Nirvana in Bali, saunas. You'll meet plenty of people. You just pull one string, that person introduces you to like 2, those 2 introduce you to like 2 more, and so on and so forth. Right? Within a few months, you got a network in a city you've never been to before. The thing is, you actually have to put the effort in at that point though. Right? No one's coming to find you. But if you show up in the right places consistently and you're a genuine person to be around, it happens much faster than you think. That brings me back to my point, Mexico City. So about 3 years ago, I was grinding away on my agency on my own, genuinely on my own, by the way. I didn't know a single person in the online space, not one. All right. And for about 6 months, I had no one to ask questions to, no one to sense check things with, no one to tell me what software to use or which accountant to get or what not to waste my money on. I was literally guessing at everything, alone, in my bedroom in the UK, piss wet rain outside, not a hope in sight. What I noticed was I wasn't moving very fast, or as fast as I wanted to. I was working, but I wasn't kind of like moving because there was no one to chase. At that point, I'd invested basically everything I had into getting a mentor, a guy named EK, who at the time was one of the top closers working with Iman. He was actually a record-breaking closer. Might still be to this day. Anyway, spending all my money on this guy's mentorship. We've been speaking for about 1 day, and he said to me, let's go to Mexico City. I said, yeah, 100%. When? He said, April. I said, done. And then nothing happened. The weeks went by. No follow-up, no plans, nothing. One day I was like, you know what? Fuck this. I got a bit of money together. So one of my clients paid an invoice. I said, you know what? I'm going to buy my flights. I bought my flights. Didn't ask, didn't check, just bought them, and I sent him a screenshot, knowing the kind of person he was. 15 minutes later, I got a screenshot back. His flights from North Carolina, where he's from, to Mexico City. That was it. We were going. And I didn't have lots of money at the time. The agency I was doing was all right, but it wasn't flying. I just knew I had to make it work. I had to get my return out of it somehow. And I did. That's putting it mildly. I did. Living with Emmanuel in Mexico City, running every day, gym every day. He'd already pushed me to do 75 hard through Christmas and all that because that's just what he was like. That was his standard. And when someone like that is in your environment, you just do it. You don't really even question it because he's done it and you can't be the only one who hasn't. That was the whole thing right there. I was earning more, about 5 times more by the end of Mexico City. It was only a 3-month trip. I was healthier. I was sharper. I was learning more in those weeks than I had in months on my own. And by the time I left Mexico, I was on track to do well over 6 figures for the year. Compared to where I've been before, that was a completely different trajectory. EK is now my best friend. I'm actually going to be his groomsman at his wedding later this year. Shout out the boy. And BTB, the whole thing, basically started in Mexico because I was there. I was hungry. I was surrounded by someone doing bigger things than me. And I couldn't stand not matching it. I came home. And I built the room I wish I had from the start. Here's the thing I think happens to a lot of people, and they don't recognize it for what it is. You might be working hard. You might be showing up every day. But if you're the best one in your current circle and everyone around is coming to you for advice and no one's pulling you forward, you're a big fish in a small pond. And a big fish in a small pond stops growing. It's not that you become lazy, it's that you've hit that ceiling of your current environment, that glass ceiling, and you need to break through it. The glass ceiling isn't actually above you, you're just holding yourself there. You just need to change the room, the pond, okay? The guys who go to Dubai and suddenly start making way more money, which is what happened in my experience, it's rarely because Dubai did something magical. It's because they got there and they saw 22-year-olds with Ferraris and they realized that this is actually real. This is actually possible for someone at my age. And that blew the lid off what they thought they could do, which then made them push harder, strive for more. And that is all environment does. It shows you what's possible. And once you've seen it, you can't unsee it. It's like stretching an elastic band too long. It won't go back to the same shape after a while. So when I say you're not lazy, you're just alone, I mean it quite literally. Alone doesn't always mean by yourself in a room. It can mean you're surrounded by people who aren't going anywhere, people who are comfortable, people who don't make you feel the gap between where you are and where you want to be. That comfort is the enemy. Not because comfort's bad, but because you are competitive whether you admit it or not. Otherwise, you wouldn't still be watching this video. And without someone to compete with, you will not move at all, and you will not move at the pace that you are capable of. Find the right room, find the people who are 1 or 2 rungs above you, go to where they are, show up, be genuine, pull the first string you find, and let it build from there. Change your environment. That's it. And guys, I just want to say, subscribe if you want a little bit more of this, some more sit downs from your boy, loads coming, and I'll see you in the next one.